What's up guys, JB2017 here with another Automatron tips and tricks video. And today I'm going to share my guide on the basics of building robot companions in the DLC. Because as you know, that's a huge part of this new DLC, possibly where you're going to be spending most of your time once you've beat, well that's the only thing really to do, once you've beat the story arc in the DLC. So in this video we'll talk about what you can build, how to find schematics, common components, and a general overview of the new robot workbench, which is right here. So first off, let's go over some very bare minimum basics. The requirement in order to have this robot workbench and actually to use it is to complete the Mechanical Menace mission, which is one of the, actually it is the first mission in the Automatron DLC. And of course, you'll need to be level 15 to even start the content, so that's another real basic requirement for even getting into your robot companion building. Next, let's talk about how you'll actually require mods in order to, build on this workbench, because you're going to jump in here and you're going to see all these robots. You're not going to know how to get these schematics. It's fairly simple. You're going to loot them from a lot of the robot that's you're going to be killing throughout Automatron. So once you're playing through these quests, essentially you're going to loot robots, and it'll, talk about certain parts like an Assaultron left arm, an Assaultron left leg, a RoboBrain right arm, RoboBrain treads, excuse me, just a bunch of different combinations, and you're going to loot those, and then you're going to be able to find them underneath the mods tab in your Pip-Boy. So if you go all the way over here, all of them are going to be stored right here, and you can actually track them through this. Now, a lot of people are probably wondering, do I need copies of all of these? And the answer is, once you find these out in the world, you can craft them at your robot workbench, which means I don't really need 6 Assaultron left arms. In fact, I'm just going to drop, half of those, or more than half, I don't need all of these mods. I can actually just craft them. They will require components, but essentially if you find these out in the world, you can just go ahead and attach them. It works just like mods on weapons and armor. For example, if I have a laser sniper, actually I think that is a robot mod. Let's try and find a normal mod. A Tesla rifle semi-auto barrel, on my Tesla rifle, I can go over to the weapon workbench and just throw that on. I don't have to, create it again. It works the same way with your robot mods. So that's kind of how schematics work, and once you find a new one in the top left, it'll say, you just unlocked a new schematic at the robot workbench. Some other good things to know that are in addition to the robot companion options with Ada, the robot that you meet during the quest, and also the limitless automatrons that you can create at this robot workbench, you can actually go back and grab both Codsworth and Curie, put them into the robot workbench, and actually change them. You have the full suite of options, except for the voice, of course, because they have their voiceovers and whatnot already in place. But you can take Codsworth and pretty much turn him into a sentry bot, or turn him into some kind of combination. The options are limitless, but you can go back and change those companions. But your fair warning is here: if you do that, you can't equip the bowler hat, which is pretty much the only cosmetic item that works with Codsworth and Curie. If you do this, then you can't equip that item anymore. So really make sure and make a save before you decide to do that. Now let's talk about some of the perks that you'll need in order to build mods. And really there's a set of main 4 perks that you're going to want to go after, and they are Armor, Blacksmith, Robotics Expert, and Science. And just one by one, Armor obviously allows you to create better armored mods for your robots. Blacksmith is really all about melee weapons. So if you want your robots to not have melee weapons, just ranged only, you really don't have to worry about Blacksmith, but there are some really cool melee options that I'm about to show you guys. Robotics Expert allows you to make certain unstable mods that are really powerful, but an unstable mod has a risk of breaking if your robot goes down, which means you'll have to create another mod and reattach that, if you lose it. So that's kind of the risk you run, but it's a very high value, high investment, way down in Intelligence 8. So Robotics Expert is definitely relevant here. And then you've got Science, which is used for a lot of the laser-based mods, pretty much exactly what you would expect. So let's go ahead, finally, and hop into the robot workbench and look at what we're doing. So let's go ahead and create a new automatron and kind of start from ground zero. So when you first build an automatron, you're going to need some basic components: 6 rubber, 6 circuitry, 9 ceramic, 11 aluminum, and 8 adhesive. And really, guys, these are the basic requirements for almost every single mod that you're going to have to build. It is rubber, circuitry, ceramic, aluminum, and adhesive. Especially aluminum and adhesive. Those are in almost every single mod, and circuitry. You're going to see some other things like crystal, Steel, of course. Steel is another really common one. You're going to see some other ones, but these are really the basics that you're going to need for most mods, and of course what you need to even build an automatron in the first place. So here we are. We are looking at the interface for our robot workbench, and we're going to go kind of category by category and really break down the major components that you can mess with. And I'm going to let you guys know exactly what these determine, because this can be really, really confusing if you don't know exactly what you're looking for. So the major components that I'm breaking them into that you really need to worry about are the head, the torso, the arms, kind of lumped together because they do the same thing. That's just left and right. And then your legs. And these are things that really determine stats and how good your robot really is. So let's go ahead and start off with the head. And the head, each category here, let me back up real quick. Each category has a set of mod slots, just like with a weapon. So the head category has 2 slots, one for the base, which for the head that you're going to choose, and then one for the armor. So it's pretty simple here. So as you can tell, with each of these options, it kind of shows you on the right, but your head determines your resistances, obviously. So you're going to see your damage resistance for ballistic and energy weapon damage, you know, how much they're able to take. It determines your resistances and engagement distance. So if you look and scroll through each of these, you're going to see, you know, medium, short, medium, extra long with the Robo Brain, and short. So, you know, that's going to determine, it's almost like perception if you think about it. What distance is your robot going to engage the enemy at? This is what determines that. It also determines accuracy, so you can kind of scroll through and look at these. And there are some special weapon options. For example, the Assaultron head laser unlocks the head laser attack, so you'll have to look out for those. Same with the RoboBrain as the Mesmetron attack. So kind of some unique options there. And then, you know, if we go into the armor slot, this is where it's going to determine more resistances, but also some really special damage type bonuses. This is something you're going to see across all armor options. They add these weird things like a chance for targets to explode with the Doom Helm, increased explosives limb damage, which is interesting, paralyzing targets to explode, you know, different really weird different options. And all of these armor options are really cosmetic, and it depends on which head you choose, obviously. So if I'm going to go ahead and pick an Assaultron head laser, and I'm going to go through here, this is going to look very, very different from what I was able to choose with just the Protectron head. So a lot of different options in here, and that's pretty much all that's going on with the head. Let's move on to the torso now. It's basically the same thing, but we got 4 mod slots. We've got the base, so you have to choose which robot you want. And for the torso, you've pretty much got your resistances like we talked about before. However, this also determines health. Health is a big thing with a torso. So as you can tell with the Protectron, that is the lowest health. And then you move up, Mr. Handy has a little bit more, and your health is determined in the bottom left here. A little bit more as you're moving down, and Sentry has the absolute most, which is crazy. But it is vulnerable to overheating, and that's something you'll need to really pay attention to. So also, kind of a wild card here, the Mr. Handy improves or has superior movement speed. So your Mr. Handy torso is going to move faster than any other you know, torso available, which is very cool. So each of these armors, we have something unique. We've got front armor and back armor, which is not really something you have in any other category. And then you have a miscellaneous torso mod. So let's look at the front and back armor. This really is going to give you some carrying capacity, which is very cool. And some of them affect movement speed, as you can tell here. It reduces movement speed if you do the front primal heavy plate. So you have a lot of different options here, and again, we're looking at some interesting damage bonus types. So melee targets are irradiated, melee targets bleed, you know, different little things, chance to stagger, almost like a legendary weapon that you might find with one of those modifiers. You can get that in the form of an armor piece, which is very cool. So you've got your front, your rear, which is essentially the same, and then your miscellaneous. This is another wild card category, and you can actually have your robots hack for you. So you don't need to take hacker, and you don't need to take lockpicking. Either one, if you want to throw that on one of your robots and have them, you know, with you, like Ada, for example, then you can absolutely do that. And you've also got some really cool things like increasing perception, tracking targets, you know, marking them on your screen, on your HUD, adding radiation, stealth field, which is very cool, and increasing energy damage, which is very cool, or dealing energy damage. You know, some very, very cool options through here. And we've got a few of these slots, but these are really special slots, you know, to kind of pay attention to. So that's pretty much what's going on with the torso. The arms are essentially the same. I'm just going to hop into the left arm and show you. So the arms have 4 slots. You've got the base arm slot for whatever, you know, robot type you're going for. And this really determines, again, carry capacity, but also melee damage. If you choose to have your robot as a melee based robot, arms are super important. Arms are important for any, you know, weapon consideration, obviously, because that's where you're going to put your weapons for the most part. But, you know, essentially this is what you're looking at here with your arms. And then you've got a bunch of armor slots again. So left armor, you're going to pick your different kinds of armor. And, you know, the Protectron doesn't really have a lot of options here, unfortunately. But so you have your base, then your armor slot for that, and then what's on the hand. So the arms are kind of segmented from the entire arm to what's on the hand. And the hand is where you have all of these options, and this gets crazy. I mean, you've got your traditional melee weapons to your lasers, your ranged weapons, claw, hook, axe, you know, shish kebab sword, construction claw, you know, like a Big Daddy thing. I mean, there's just so much going on here, and it's really worth going through. But you have it almost seems like a limitless number of options to really go through, and so that's really up to you guys to go through here and really look at everything. But at the very bottom, you've got unstable explosive minigun. Unstable, again, is going to require Robotics Expert rank 1 over here, but 4 science. And I guess that kind of makes sense there. But unstable may break when you're using it, so that's something just to keep in mind. And so it really, again, kind of doubles for both arms. It doesn't really matter. You also have hand armor, so it's kind of going to alter the look of your hand as well and add those different resistances. Some will have the special, you know, damage type bonuses like irradiation, like I've already showed you guys. So essentially that's what's going on with the arms. And moving on down to legs. We're going to look at legs, and it's got 4 slots once again, and your legs are going to determine movement speed. That makes a lot of sense, and also carrying capacity. And Sentry legs seem to be the best in terms of giving you the most carrying capacity. Has pretty good movement speed, but not, of course, the movement speed of Mr. Handy, which has exceptional movement speed. But that's pretty much what you're looking for in terms of choosing base legs. Then you've got several different armor types. You've got the mid armor, which is kind of like the midsection, you could say, which adds different little things, really just resistances and carry capacity for the Protectron. But, you know, if you go in and explore, let me just show you guys, for example, if I go into Sentry legs, I'm going to go ahead and make those. You unlock extra little, you know, slots. It depends on what you're doing. So, for example, I'm on the Sentry. I've got waist armor. I didn't have that before. I mean, I guess I had midsection armor. But, you know, you've got different options depending on what you're choosing. So that's something else to keep in mind. But, again, resistances and carry weight, typically what you're going to get out of this armor. Maybe a little bit of bonuses here and there. You know, having melee targets bleed, for example, if you wanted to make, you know, a Captain Ahab robot, just like the one that you're facing in the Automatron DLC, you could absolutely do that. So really, there's just a huge variety of things. It's really worth exploring. I just kind of gave you guys a basic overview here of the ones that really determine how you're going to be playing your robot and maybe for a specific play style. There are some cosmetic options, for example, a voice. You can choose a voice, you know. Unfortunately, it doesn't allow you to actually preview the voice, so you're kind of just going to have to pick one and see, you know, what it sounds like, which really sucks. But, you know, at least they give that option, and also a paint option. That doesn't require any resources either, and it doesn't really affect anything. You know, if I wanted red paint, I could just make it. Requires nothing, and it doesn't affect anything in terms of damage and resistances. Anyways, guys, this was just a brief overview and a basic guide of this robot workbench. I plan on making a more advanced guide, you know, to kind of tailor your robot to a specific play style or whatever you're trying to accomplish, you know, later on down the road when I have more experience with it. But anyways, I hope this was helpful for you all. And today I shared my basic guide for, you know, creating your own robot workbench companion in the Automatron DLC for Fallout 4. And next time we will cover more Fallout on my channel, so stay tuned for Fallout 4 tips and tricks videos. And if you learned something new, remember to hit that like button. I would really appreciate it. And don't forget to subscribe for more Automatron DLC coverage, my Automatron Let's Play, and general tips and tricks videos. Talk to you guys next time. Peace.